Okay, so while I'm waiting to put out my very first Let's Play, I figured I'd make you guys a 50 facts video about myself, so here we go. I'm 18 years old and I was born on March 11th, 2002, which was actually the 6-month anniversary of the 9/11 terror attacks. The lights that you see on the screen went up on the night that I was being born to commemorate the towers falling. My favorite game series of all time is the Witcher series, Witcher 3 Wild Hunt being my favorite. My favorite game of all time is Xenoblade Chronicles. I got it on my 10th birthday, I think, and I've been playing it pretty much ever since. I've been playing guitar since I was 15 years old. There have been multiple times in my life where I have played video games for 12 hours straight. I was in a band when I was 16. The only gig we ever played was at a middle school. We played Black Sabbath's Heaven and Hell. I did the vocals in the band, and we effectively never talked to each other after our bass guitarist just kind of ditched us. I was in choir throughout most of my high school career. I haven't spoken a word to my biological father in almost 2 years now. My first job ever was working at KFC. I actually pulled a good amount of hours until one of the shift leads took a manager position who hated me, and she started effectively scheduling me literally for 3 hours a week, and that was it. Sometimes even 2 hours when she would send me home early deliberately. My favorite show of all time is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I've been to Japan a grand total of 3 times in my life. I was lucky enough to go on an honor choir tour through 5 different countries in Europe. I once got in trouble for a fight that I didn't even start while the other guy got off scot-free. Each and every pair of shoes that I own has been worn into a mosh pit at least once. I don't consider shoes that I own officially broken in until that's happened to them. This includes dress shoes. My favorite restaurant chain is Five Guys, and if you disagree with me, you're wrong. I went to prom all 4 years of high school. I have never broken a bone. I actually like drinking milk just on its own. Does that make me a monster? I've watched Sword Art Online all the way through more times than I care to actually admit. Steve Irwin was my childhood hero. In fact, I wanted to go into work with animals because of him. I never particularly cared for Xbox or any games that they ever put out. Sorry. I have long been a Nintendo fan, and I think I will be so long as I live. My first game console ever was a special edition Red Wii. The first video game I ever played was SpongeBob's Atlantis SquarePantis on the DS, which came out all the way back in 2007. I weirdly remember this very vividly. I am the youngest of 3, and I have 2 older stepbrothers, one of which is almost 30 and the other of which is in his early 20s. I was never that good of a student. The only time that I got pretty good grades for an entire year was my sophomore year of high school, and that was because my mom told me if I didn't pull at least a B in every single one of my classes, I couldn't go to Japan that summer. I went to a private school for 7th and 8th grade because my parents thought it would help me do better in school. It actually ended up making the situation worse. I actually have a high-functioning Asperger's syndrome disorder. I wouldn't say I have a photographic memory, but I have a pretty good memory. My favorite Pokemon is Blaziken. My Super Smash Bros. Main is, of course, Shulk. I actually got scammed my first time trying to buy a Nintendo Switch. I've only been to one sleepover in my entire childhood. I still vividly remember some of the names and faces of my good friends from elementary school, which is weird. Whether I prefer fantasy or sci-fi basically just depends on the day of the week. I lived with my grandparents for the first 5 years of my life. I actually hated social media for a really long time, probably till I was about 14. Along with Chugga Conroy, I've been a longtime viewer of Steven Vlog and Steven Plays. I actually wept real tears when Sagan died recently. Rest in peace, big boy. I own physical disc copies of The Last Story and Xenoblade Chronicles, the 2 best, in my opinion, RPG games that came out on the Wii. I own the entire extended cut of the Lord of the Rings movies. I have a sword and knife collection that I try to keep secretive of fear of being judged. I promise I'm not a neckbeard. One night in high school, I decided to listen to all of Mayday Parade's discography, and you know what? I've never been the same since. I find any attempts at motion controls that are not the Wii pathetic. I used to be an emo kid. I love dogs and cats, but I'm definitely more of a cat person. I actually like rainy weather. My favorite beverage is cherry Coke, even though I don't drink that much soda anymore. I'm 6'2" and about 145 pounds. I have no intention of ever doing a face reveal. And there you have it. That's 50 facts about me. I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for being patient while I'm working on getting the first episode of Pikmin out there. My capture card and mic are still in the mail. I just really didn't want to wait to put out the announcement, so it will be coming out very, very soon, I promise. Thank you all for tuning in.